Going to get going here. So welcome everybody to our ongoing study of the Unity Correspondence course. For Christine, what we're doing here is this is a series of courses that Charles Fillmore, who started the Unity movement back in the 19th century with his wife Myrtle, used to educate people about what they were up to and what their insights were about the relationship between human mind and divine mind and healing, prosperity, all those good things. And we've been reading, we just read two or three paragraphs together and we have a comment about it, dialogue. Um, this is, for me, it's based on the fact that I look around the room. We have 12 of us, 13 of us here, and there are 13 masters. Every one of us has been on a spiritual journey and have learned something that might be of use to some of the others of us in the room. So we're here to share our own spiritual insight. And sometimes everybody says something, or sometimes few people speak. It's completely voluntary. There's no requirements here except however you want to be. So that's kind of what we're up to here. And then you'll just see what we do when we get going. Um, so we'd like to just start by settling in. Just feel that whatever it is that we're feeling in our bodies and in our minds is the presence of God. God presencing itself as comfort, maybe agitation, as heat, cold, whatever. Whatever we're feeling is God expressing itself through those feelings or those thoughts in our head to go, what's he talking about? Or whatever. Those are all the expressions of God mind in our mental capacity. And as we sink into this energy, as always, we ask Lillian to share with us the Unity Daily Word.
The daily word is divine feminine. I bless the divine feminine in myself and in all others. Today is International Women's Day. Yay! A time to celebrate women's achievements across societies and cultures. It is also a time to celebrate the divine feminine, which blesses all people. When I honor the divine feminine, I am recognizing God as love, compassion, and understanding, aspects that are present in everyone. The world is blessed by the contributions of those who embody the divine feminine in their words and actions, from the steeliness of protection to the stiffness of the softness of comfort and nurturance. I give thanks for the girls and women in my life as I lift up and celebrate the divine feminine in its expressions. I affirm the divine feminine awakens and expands in my heart and blesses and prospers all life. And from Proverbs 31, give her a share in the fruit of her hands, and let her works praise her in the city gates.
Thanks, Lillian.
You're welcome. Divine feminine. Ooh.
Yeah. I bless the divine feminine in myself and in all others. Let's affirm that together. I
I
bless
bless
the
the
divine
divine
feminine
feminine
in
in
myself
myself
and
and
in
in
all
all
others.
others.
Thank you.
Do you need me to get you
So
some?
we have been, we're in this chapter whose title is The True Character of God. We're talking about the true character of God. And I don't know how many remember, we ended last week on a cliffhanger. Veldon, do you remember what your cliffhanger question was?
Oh, uh, help me, Diane.
Well, I cheated. I went and listened to the tape. So
Thank you.
what you said was, how does the human brain, what happens to the human brain when we pray, and how does the activity of prayer interact with the universe to produce manifestation?
Yeah, that sounds about right, Marty.
Yeah. And so we thought I thought that was a great question as to kind of be a cliffhanger about. So we're going to see if we can get some insights about that question as we move ahead to paragraph 14. Who will read paragraph 14 for us?
I will.
Thank you.
What is meant by God immanent in the universe? God is all pervading spirit, the life and intelligence permeating the whole universe. Immanent means indwelling. When we say that God is immanent in the universe, we mean that God dwells in and reveals himself through forms. We mean that God pervades every atom of the realm of manifestation, the realm known to the five senses. God, transcendent, is absolute, unbounded spirit, but God, immanent, is spirit dwelling within the form. Every form of manifestation owes its existence to this indwelling God, and any human form can achieve immortality only as it is lifted up and transmuted by this saving and redeeming God that dwells in and operates through it. Paul clearly sets forth the revelation of God, both transcendent and immanent, in these words: over all and through all and in all. In him we move, in him we live and move and have our being. And then the footnote, through forms, God dwells in and reveals himself through forms. Forms shape the attributes of all things, manifesting that which is perceived by the senses.
Thanks, Stella. So what do we read in this? What jumps out at us?
Forms. That sounds so big and huge in general. God reveals himself through forms. Is that, I'm thinking to myself, what does that mean? Does that mean when we say God is love or God is peace, that's a form?
Good question. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm asking the question.
Okay.
Come on, Claudia, you always have a good answer.
Oh, that's so funny because I was just thinking of how Marty always does the Socratic mode,
Uh,
questioning the questioner, and I was like, good on you, Diane. You got Marty. Socratic, that's the word I was looking for. The Socratic mode of questioning the questioner.
yeah,
So I
Yeah,
wasn't really thinking about Fillmore at that point.
yeah,
I like to steal from the greats.
yes. Good teachers.
Well, let's if no one wants to comment on that question, let's keep it in mind. What,
Janet has her.
Janet, do you want to comment on that question or
Maybe.
all right? And then
It may
Dick.
be um, what what I really what I really found out this week after we read last week, and then I knew it was important and I read it every day, particularly number 12. And in number 12 there's a sentence that says, not until we have consciously woven divine principles into our human consciousness can we be sure of our results. And I realized that literally it has taken a lifetime for me to partner up with God as an outer thing and pray and meditate and do a lot of stuff, and also do a tremendous amount of psychotherapy and Jungian training of ways to access your unconscious, to allow my human consciousness to be cleared enough to be able to be ready for the divine indwelling, or the phase. Thank you, God. In this year, I'm coming into this phase of listening and waiting.
and not thinking I have to learn anything else or understand anything else. I just have to be, and I have to listen and wait. And then I'm cleared up enough of all my crazy to not feel like I have to have a better or stronger answer to God. I can just say, okay. So when this was read by Sydney, I thought, well, I think we're kind of talking about the same thing, but I'm not sure. So I will pass, but I'll tell you, I feel better than I felt last week.
Great. Thanks, Janet.
So, kind of what I heard you say, Janet, or what triggered in me is we need to develop the ego in order to go along the path of humanness. And then we need to release the ego and turn it back over to God. So we start as a little one, a little infant, trusting all. We develop our own personality, as Emily Cady would say, and then we realize that we can go even beyond that in our growth, human growth, to reconcile with God.
Exactly, Claudia. Exactly. Yes. Thank you.
And it's probably a daily activity.
Oh, true
Yes.
that.
Moment to
True that.
moment.
Yeah, because I'll be really on course, and then my husband will trigger me, and then I'll be back to the egoic Claudia again, and then I'll be okay, and then somebody will trigger me, and then I'll be back to, so.
Dick.
And then we all can aspire to be the Dalai Lama who seems to stay the course,
And just laugh at ourselves.
and just laugh at ourselves.
Dick.
Thanks. You noticed I got a hand up finally. Had my wife teach me how to do that. If you remember last week, I didn't know how to raise my hand.
Progress.
Yeah.
And you notice, Dick, nobody paid attention.
Well, nobody expects that much out of a computer idiot, but I pulled it off.
Not taking that one.
What I wanted to say was this paragraph is exactly where I'm at here lately. And it felt really good because I felt like where I seem to be working or heading is kind of endorsed then by this. Because I've been thinking about this for not a long time now, but ever since I was reading in Bill Byer, I think that's his name, about atoms, and he's describing how everything is made up of atoms. There's no escaping it. And he was saying, and then in atoms, subatomic particles are pure energy. We speak of them as things like a proton or a neutron, but really they're just energy circling around inside the atoms that make up everything. And I've kind of been on the kick where I'm thinking that energy is the presence of God. And if I'm right about this, it's working for me for now anyhow, then I have God within every part of me. And how they phrased it here about God making the realm of manifestation, that God, the energy of the whole universe, is making himself manifest within me and everybody else, and even this computer that I'm looking at, and everything. And I find that just amazing concept. I hope it's true. I obviously don't know anything for a fact, but that idea is really kind of working for me, at least for now. The idea that I have God within me, and I don't have to do anything to acquire the presence of God. It's already automatically there. And at the same time I'm saying all this, it's hard for me to emotionally and spiritually just relax and accept this reality, even though in my mind's eye right now I'm thinking that's how it is. So thanks for letting me comment.
You
Okay,
just need
cool.
to move Dick out of the way, is what I hear you say. You need to move Dick out of the way so you can experience the God within every cell in your being.
Precisely. I don't have to do anything. Like I said last week, my heart's going to beat without supervision.
That's
And when
right.
it's time for it to quit, it will quit without supervision. By me, I mean. And that's true of everything. And the idea, it's like, it's freeing and it's scary for me simultaneously. Because
Well,
letting go is not a natural move for me. Surrender is not how I naturally am. It's something I'm willing to let God develop within me. And hopefully, this is the start of it. So, thanks.
And that's probably true of most of us, Dick.
well, Dick, your quantum physics discussion, yes, last week, um, that was so Course in Miracles, which I could never get through. But in this desk that looks solid, atoms are moving around. And so I was listening to a wonderful book called The Five Invitations, which is written by a Buddhist
Are you on mute?
monk who
Are
is
you on
a
mute?
who runs a hospice
Oh,
program in San
why?
Francisco. But anyway, he was talking about how the
Don't
glass
hold
in
that for
his
long.
100-year-old
Oh, okay.
home, the window glass in his 100-year-old home, the molecules, I didn't know this, the molecules have sifted down to the bottom of the glass. So it's thinner, the glass is thinner at the top than at the bottom because all molecules are active. And I thought that was a wonderful, tangible example of what you were talking about last week.
I also wonder if that isn't, to come back around to Diane's question, if this isn't where the answer to you, or an answer to your question, Diane, might lie in the fact that energy and matter are two versions of the same substance.
Yes.
Or maybe we could use the word here, form.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep listening closely to what you're all saying, and I feel like I haven't quite got there yet with the answer to my question, but I can see through the um that the number one there, that it says God dwells in and reveals himself through forms. That when I address God as love, that when I'm addressing love, that is the essence of God. In other words, forms are attributes of. I'm always trying to get behind what the attribute is to the essence. But I think I can live with the form is the attribution we give to God. And that helps us to understand the essence of God and us in our relationship to it. Does that help anybody?
Well, yeah, and what that makes me consider is that let's just look at the room here, look at the people in this room, and this is all God.
Yeah.
God showing up in these various forms. If this is true, if God is all pervading spirit, immanent in the universe, meaning that God dwells in and reveals himself through forms, pervading every atom in the realm of manifestation.
Yeah.
And that I don't see an asterisk with exceptions, so it's
Right.
universally true.
Well, if you look at this in another way, each one of us is contributing to the other's sense of connection with God.
Yeah.
And there's a harmony here of all of us that are probably pretty much on the same wavelength. But if you take this a step further and go into the the energy of everybody in the world and all the things that are going on that are where there's connection and love and affection with others, and just the opposite of that, it gives you a lot to think about, doesn't it?
Uh,
That's where I was going to go, Belden. One thing I struggle with, and not, I don't mean to take a left turn on the conversation, but this paragraph talks about the five senses, and it talks about through forms and all forms. And what about those forms we judge? Um, Forms, people, people we judge, or just situations, pollution. I it's easier to feel the indwelling God in beautiful nature, but what about in that the trash heap that we see, or just forms forms that can challenge what we like to see as a concept of God. And I still believe. I just try to reconcile that. I see Leo's.
Great question. Leo.
Uh, I would like to distinguish between judging and discerning. So judging is putting a value to it, and discerning is seeing that it exists and say, okay, it's part of the whole. Thank you.
Thank you.
I fall back on what I hear in the Course of Miracles. Those things I'm seeing that are repulsive or detrimental or I judge as. In the Course of Miracles, it says um, that's in the realm of the Holy Spirit. They say Holy Ghost. That he uses that for the purposes of now I'm not sure what it actually says. I'm going to paraphrase for the purpose of us all coming back to the one, or the awareness that all is one. Because it boggles my mind. It just I just take a breath when I see
If God is ineffable, then we are all ineffable. So when we come together, there's 12 times ineffable. That's ineffable to the ineffable. And the only thing we need to do is open up for the ineffable in all of us. And that means that this communion, this just 1 hour, opens up possibilities we could not imagine ourselves, but are already realized in the other people present in this meeting. Thank you.
Sort of like where two or more are gathered in my name, I am.
Mhm. Mhm. Years ago, people would say, like I'd go be visiting a client, and this guy would say, "How are you, Della?" And I'd say, "Great." And after a couple of years, he said, "Della, when I ask you that, you always say great." My reply was, "Well, either I am feeling great right then, or I'm speaking the truth in advance."
Yeah. Well, that gets to the power of intention that Dick was talking about. I intend to be great, even in spite of appearances to the contrary.
Yep.
So I intend, this goes to the question I think Sydney was raising. I intend to believe this is true, what I'm reading in this paragraph, whether I can know that with some kind of human scientific certainty or not.
And I think John was kind of saying that too in A Course in Miracles, that even though we don't see the grand plan or the role that some of these things that we confront in our lives, we don't see the role that that's playing right now, that we trust that it has a role in
Yes, yes,
the plan.
yeah. There was a line from a poem I wrote about what does that guru see, and one of the lines that came through me is seeing the new earth budding forth from the wars and strife. Seeing in that there's something I can't see that I'm, um, and I know that the new earth is coming, in spite of
In spite
everything.
of logic.
Yeah.
In spite of appearances.
Right.
Appearances. Yeah, there you go. Good word.
It's interesting because fall, the death of plants and things in the fall, if you didn't know that spring was coming, is kind of that same scary spot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
This conversation is reminding me of the peace that passes all understanding,
Mhm.
because we can be in that place of greatness no matter what our feelings are telling us, just by knowing that God can provide us with the peace that passes all understanding.
Yeah.
So, thanks.
Yeah, and choosing to be open to that instead of its opposite.
It reminds me of the biblical saying, judge not by appearances, but judge by, and I'm going to say right judgment instead of righteous, because sometimes righteous has got a bad, name now. It's like righteous, but so judge not by appearance, but judge by right judgment. And then we'll get to the peace that passes all understanding.
Lovely.
Okay, anything else on this one paragraph that we've been discussing?
I don't know if this relates particularly to this one paragraph, but I've been experiencing something a lot lately. As I start to go into the store, somebody opens the door for me, and going out to the car with my groceries to put in, somebody said, "Well, can I help you with that?" And I'm getting an awful lot of that, and I realize that people take a look at me and realize he's not 21 years old, and maybe we need to help him. But I think that everyone that generates that sense of helping me is, I think, in their own way, it's God's spirit within them, and that connection with God within them that helps me is also uh, part of the activity that God is eminent in the universe. It's amazing that somebody's there. A few weeks ago, I was getting something out of the car and I fell, and before I could hardly take a breath, there were two men there immediately to help pick me up. And I hadn't even prayed for help. It's just I hadn't had time yet.
Well, Sheldon, I know you, and you are not a grumpy old man. You emanate joy and compassion. So it doesn't surprise me that people are wanting to get into your aura by opening doors for you and being reciprocal to that you are emanating, which is compassion and love. So,
What a nice thing to say.
Well,
I
and
have the pleasure of knowing Veldon. I can say
Yeah,
that
yeah.
because I know Veldon.
and as Veldon often does, that's a perfect segue into the next section.
Okay.
So who would read paragraph 15?
I will.
Thank you, Sydney.
We should seek earnestly to know the all-pervading, omnipresent one. When we clearly discern the science of God-mind, we shall understand the mysteries of creation. And the footnote says, we shall understand the mysteries of creation. By understanding the attributes of God, we can understand the true attributes of all things manifested. If we understand that spirit and mind are synonymous, we can readily see that there is no mystery about spiritual things, for they're not far removed from our daily thoughts and experiences. The text, "Know ye not that ye are a temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you," simply means that God dwells in us as our minds dwell in the body. God creates and moves creation through the power of his mind. Sorry. And the highest manifestation of God mind on this planet has built for itself a temple of the living God. This creative idea immanent in man has built from universal substance a form through which this individualization of God is manifesting itself. This individualization of God is manifesting itself. The soul of human beings, conscious and subconscious mind, is a manifestation of divine mind. Through our minds, we shall find God and do his will, for God dwells in man as I am, Jehovah God, and expresses in man's soul as the superconscious or Christ mind, as the cause and ruler over the body, its earthly temple.
Thanks, Sydney.
Wow.
Yeah, just a few statements of
It's a thick
interest
one.
there. What do we hear? What are our thoughts? Any disagreements?
Yeah, my ego gets in the way. I've in recovery for a long time, and step 11 was difficult for me to like accept. It took me a long time.
Can you tell
when I
people
read
who
it.
might not be
Yeah,
familiar with what that is?
sought through prayer and meditation, increase my conscious contact with my higher power, seeking only the knowledge of his will in my life and the power to carry it out. When I first heard that, is I don't know what his will is, and it's like, I don't know. Wait a minute. And then I over time came to understand that his will is my well-being. And I thought, oh, I can get on board with that. And that my ego or my individuality is important somehow in how I express that through me, as it is for me to see you express that through you. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it just made sense to me that when I put my ego in alignment with God, then that's the proper place for it.
Thanks, John.
Lately, I've been going as a little bit farther with my thinking by saying that my will is only God's will. It can't be anything else. And if it is anything else, then I know that it's my mistake or my ego in the way, because truth is that my will and God's will are the same.
Thank you. Janet?
I really like the first sentence, that we should seek earnestly to know. And I like it that I've been given forgiveness or something with that statement, that I did believe from childhood, elementary school in a Catholic school, that if I just knew enough, and it was nothing but understanding anything, certainly for decades. Then I had the idea that knowing was it was something else, but I didn't have it, so I better read another book. And I think of all the effort that I've put into the third and 11th step in the recovery program, and in anybody could tell me any book they ever read on anything that was remotely bothering me, and I'd make a note, and I absolutely and was learned that I was just an overthinker and an overanalyzer and wanting logic and reason and a concrete understanding about God. And it was only when I discovered the Fillmorian perspective that I at least opened a window, a crack, to say, this is something else. It's not knowing, and it's not learning, it's about something else. And now I gave great importance to the birthday I had last month. And I felt like having completed 75 years on this planet is a big accomplishment. And the quality of everyone here, their life and what built their life is different. And I feel I did more than my fair share of climbing out of a black hole. And I now feel, even reading this and listening to you today, that, okay, baby, you turned the corner. Now you're in year 76, but it's time to relax and let me speak through you and say what needs to be said. You don't need to think about it at all. And if every book in your pile was disappeared, you'd be fine. And that is a new freedom that I have not had in my life, and really grateful. And there's a lot of very, very intellectual people in this group that I do know read a lot. And it's certainly worth something, but it's not the finish line. The knowing and the knowledge is worth something for some part of life. But then I hope for everyone it turns sooner than where I am now, because I feel like, oh my goodness, what if I die tomorrow and I've only known this for one day? Because I like it so much better to be just relax, just be free, don't do anything that you're not being told to do.
I'm so
And
glad
I
to hear
thank you
you.
all.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, Janet, because when I joined this group, I thought, oh, these people are all so well read and so intellectual and so immersed in this material. And I've just been a dabbler and an overthinker and trying to figure things out. And it's better for me when I just let spiritual concepts wash over me and try to relax, but it's hard for me.
It's
Maybe I'll
coming.
get there.
It's coming. It's absolutely coming. It comes within every 24 hours. I know it comes. And I know the more I learned last year, it was last year when I was feeling so like, oh my God, you're going to turn 75 and everyone's going to want to have a party and you don't want to do that, because I felt like I just hadn't gotten it. And I, by the time the birthday, the actual day rolled around, I think I talked about it here, that I was just, it did exactly what I was being told to do with the one person I was being told to do it with. And it was the best birthday I've ever had. And I thought, this can be the template for going forward. And I've had now about 3 weeks of it, and I can endorse it 1,000,000,000% that brains are great, thinking is a gift, no, understanding what you're thinking about is a gift, but it's not the whole deal. There's a whole other big piece of it that waits for everybody, and we just have to get it and accept it.
Every day.
Every day is different.
And you said something else that resonated with me there, Janet, when you talked about the brain, and Marty, when you started with the cliffhanger question of Veldon's and Diane's, you said something about the brain, and I think my brain gets in the way. It's when I let my heart lead, and often I think about the role of my brain in filtering my reality in a way that my humanness can understand it, can digest it. Um, but the brain is a useful tool, but it definitely gets in the way of the heart.
And you want to get it in the way that is not the way that I got it, with God's frustration with me, giving me 3 situations with different kinds of brain damage. So there's all parts of my brain that have been reformed. And I think it had to happen. I understand now it had to happen because the brain I used for my whole life up until 2003 was not serving me well. It was keeping me pushed back from that real spiritual connection. And it's a long time since 2003, and I kept failing, and then I'd have a fall down a flight of stairs, or I'd have a slip in the hallway and go back and hit my head again. It's like I was a frequent flyer at the neurology place in Boston, and they'd say, "Oh yeah, you've been here before." I think they all thought I lived with either an abusive husband or I had something about me was questioned. And it was not what I know now. It was just God saying, "All right, you've done your work with your brain. And Sydney, you're so spot on with the things you say. And I know you're way along in the path of letting go of the brain, and you just do it on your own and don't wait to have to get whacked on the head and recover from that." Yeah.
Thank you, Janet.
Something keeps going through my head here. Uh, it's been said that we learned everything we needed to know in kindergarten. And if you stop and think about that, it's really a statement of how we need to get along in the world. And if you look at that, that can go to the next step, and wisdom is knowing what the situation is and what to do about it. So the learning in kindergarten of everything we need to know to get along in the world, I think, is God's connection to all of us. And if we all adapted all of those things, we would all find things much more harmonious and less anguish over things that threw us a curve.
Mhm.
Share your cookies.
Take a turn.
And I'll tell you what I learned from all my years of psychotherapy and other related matters is that whatever's happening to you from age birth to 10 is what makes it almost impossible to follow that book and what it outlines, because you're so damaged from what has already happened that is buried in your subconscious and influencing your actions and reactions all the time. And the people that don't, I've seen in recovery, the people that don't get that idea and know that the power greater than themselves is going to restore them to sanity are the people that can't proceed in an addiction-free life and in a healing life, because they can't. It has to tie together what you're being influenced by spiritually in the recovery programs and what you're not, because it doesn't work for me and many people that I've sponsored. It doesn't work unless you buy in that God is present and a healing force. I remember that book, Belden. I probably got given that book. I don't have them anymore because I gave up. And I thought, yeah, you're never going to get this because you can't. And I'm going to get a copy of that and look at it, because I bet you now I could. I bet you I could do the things that I'm supposed to have learned back when I was 5. See what I find.
I think it goes back to love, and at an early age, how we are shown love is essential. And and the entities that are closest to us to show us love are our parents. So if our parents weren't capable of doing that because of their own experiences, it is that whole thing about the the apple not falling far from the tree, because you know we have to overcome the deficit or the deficiency of not being shown love at a very, very early age. Love, non-judgment, total acceptance, all of those things that are just that is that is how we now are trying to accept that God is for, with, and in me, expressing in and through me. And if you've witnessed that or experienced that, then at least you have a touchstone to go back to and say, oh, that's what it is. Okay, let me expand on it. And I'm just going to say this one thing and then I'm going to stop. When I had my daughter, I was blown away because I had no idea that you, as a human being, or me, could just instantly feel this incredible love for this other entity that just showed up, you know? And so I was meditating on this and I was meditating on love. And I thought, gosh, my mom must have loved me this much. And I was really kind of like just immersed in that emotion. When I felt the voice, and the voice said, all that you love her, I love you more. And that was just like open your eyes and look around and go, what? And it just to this day, and I don't always think about it, but to this day, when I think about that, I think, yeah, because I was really focused on how much I loved this kid and then how much my mother must have loved me, which you know, but you don't know at a depth at that level. So anyway, that's my story. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks, Claudia. Dick?
Excuse me, I had to unmute first. I was thinking about, I mean, a lot of people sort of lean this way, but Janet, when she was talking about she couldn't fix herself, but finally she got the idea that God could. And I'm a believer in the 12-step program myself. And I think about my lesson on step 6, and for those who aren't familiar with it, step 6 is became entirely ready for God to remove your defects of character. Well, I read that like, okay, I'm ready to get rid of my defects, and now I'm going to start working on myself with God's help. That's how, when I read it, that's what it meant to me. And I was out fishing with an AA friend, and he said, "How's your program going?" And I says, "It sucks. I'm now on step 6 and 7, and I'm getting worse." And he goes, "Oh, that's because you didn't read it right." And I said, "Well, I don't know how you know that, but what do you mean?" And he says, "If you look at it, it does." He said, "Everybody thinks they're going to work on themselves." And he said, if you read step 6 correctly, it says, became entirely ready for God to do this. Well, in other words, it's becoming entirely ready for a miracle. Not your effort, but for a miracle. Well, once he got that clear in my head, that was news I could use. The whole game changed. Now, I felt like not very comfortable with the idea that I wasn't going to be the one responsible for working through anything or figuring anything out. But the idea, it finally hit me that this 12-step program is based on the concept of miracles, of God within taking care of it for us. And that was an amazing thing that I've kind of clung to ever since that guy said that for me. So I thought I'd pass what he had to say on to the group. Thanks.
Thanks, Dick.
Thanks, Dick. Well, we have 9 minutes to our scheduled time. Shall we start this next one? It's just another just minor thing. Is man capable of understanding God?
Sure.
John?
Yes. Is man? My answer to that question for me is no. But let's read on and see what happens.
Okay. Who will read number 16?
If you don't mind, I will.
Okay. Thank you.
To know God as principle helps us to understand many things about him that we cannot conceive when we think of him as personality. For instance, if we know him as principle, we can readily understand how he can be omnipresent. The principle of mathematics is everywhere present. Anyone, anywhere can use it, and even if millions of people are using it at the same time, there is no lack of it, no friction, no discord because of the many who are using it to solve problems. All receive its full benefit as wholly and as freely as one individual would if he were the only one using it.
Do you mind go ahead and reading the next one?
I do. I would prefer not to.
Okay.
Okay.
Who would be willing to read 17? Because I think that 16 and 17 flow together.
I will.
Thank you.
To know God as mind helps us to understand omniscience. Science implies orderly knowledge, knowledge that is systematic and arranged with reference to general principles that are interrelated and interactive. Omniscience is all orderly knowledge. God, divine mind, embraces all knowledge and understanding and is the origin of all ideas, the source of every expression of true intelligence. Mind is the essence, the substance, in which ideas live and move and have being, just as fish live and move and have being in water. Mind is wholly immaterial and is all-pervading. God-mind cannot be separated or divided. Hence, it is not strictly correct to say that man's mind is a part of divine mind, because this implies separation. Man has consciousness in divine mind. The impressions of mind that have conscious in divine mind manifest only bits of its knowledge. So there seems to be a myriad of minds, each with its own knowledge. Intelligence in individuals is mind expressing itself as consciousness. All knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are expressions of idea in the one mind, pressing forth through different channels according to the capacity of each channel. When man thinks that he has a mind separate from God mind, he builds a state of consciousness that is adverse to truth. The scriptures call this adverse state adversary or Satan.
Thanks, Leo. Thanks, John.
You're welcome.
So thoughts? Mind activity?
I've been playing around with this, and it's doing me a lot of good. I had to say I had to study a lot of stuff that isn't easily grasped at my previous state of mind. But when I got to it, it opened a totally new dimension of understanding things. And what I mean with this is I've been struggling with a little bit of family karma until I managed to come in contact with the minds of all my siblings. And I sort of pushed away all other things, and I made how you say that, an environment where all these minds could be with me and where I could be understanding whatever would come up. And this has been developing in the last 2 weeks, and I can tell you it's very beneficial. Thank you.
Thank you.
But it was just you, Leo, not Anybody else input?
Well, I asked my life partner to give me some space to experiment something. So every now and then she said, I'm annoying you. I said, no, you know, tell me what's on, and we have something, and then I continue. I go back to that secluded space. So I have a secluded space where I go to, and then I let that be, because there is some family karma that I want to solve. And I can only solve that when all my siblings are present. But most of them passed on already. So
Oh,
I am doing this on a field that is not here.
interesting.
And that's totally possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if there's only one activity going on in all the universe, then that's totally doable.
Now, it means a lot, guys. For instance, all people are starting to trouble about what happens around Trump. But already years ago, I was interested in fascism. And then I found out fascism is just a term that says together strong. And then people say, well, what are you talking about? I say, well, take the muscles of your arm. There is a muscle here that is competing with a muscle here. But because I control the competition, I move my arm around. But the individuals here have their being in me. They have to acknowledge me. So I'm moving this arm. I'm stretching those fingers. And fascism is that. But fascism is also comes in its extremes about expressing fear. And if we understand that fear has been part of our lives, then we can go back to where that fear came a factor in our personal life. And that is why I now create that sphere where I connect to the minds of my siblings. And I'm calling them all by names. And I say, you are all ineffable. So teach me, tell me what. Yeah. And there is an interaction that is without words, but things are being solved, and I'm happy with it.
Well, the shift occurs in you. I'm not disagreeing that you're not connecting with their energy and their spirit, because I do believe in that. And, you know, some people know that I've been a medium, so I do believe in that. And the shift occurs in you. It's in your consciousness that the shift has occurred in because of your communication to your siblings.
Well, time and space is something we can order around, and I believe in that. And my mind can make a selection and say, I want to learn a bit about that particular thing. And that's how I do it.
Well, thank you for that. And we come to the end of our time together. So another cliffhanger. We're going to leave it there and pick up this conversation next week. And before we close, I wanted to share with us the prayer for protection that we say is a much longer one, and we say a shortened version of it. But this is the original version. The light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, the presence of God watches over you. And then we usually stop there. But it actually goes on. The mind of God guides you, the life of God flows through you, the laws of God direct you, the peace of God abides within you, the joy of God uplifts you, the strength of God renews you, The beauty of God inspires you. Then wherever you are, God is. So I just,
Wow, Marty, that's powerful.
yeah.
Thank
I
you.
did not know.
So
Actually, I have a little comment on that.
Include that in your weekly notice, would you, Marty?
Sure.
Because that's worth preserving and printing out. I had no idea there was more to it than that.
sure.
Yeah, neither did I. That's fantastic. Thank you, Marty.
Yeah.
I want to share that with my prayer circle or prayer group. Because we use it all each week. Yeah.
Fair enough. So we'll just go to the traditional part is the first 4 lines for those of you who may not know this prayer. And this is the way we close out our time together.
Why can't we say the whole thing?
Oh, no.
Well, we
Oh,
can.
no.
At least we can memorize 4 lines.
Yeah.
Oh, we can read it.
Okay.
No.
My big sister has spoken. My little big sister has spoken.
Well, let's try it. Let's try to do the whole prayer together. The light of God
Like
surrounds
God.
you.
God surrounds us.
The love of God
Love
The love of
enfolds
Love
God
you.
you.
enfolds you.
The
The
power
power
of
of
God
Power
God
of God
protects you.
protects you.
The
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 presence of
presence of
God
God
Presence of
watches
watches
God
over you.
watches
you.
over you.
The mind of
The
God
mind of
guides
God
you.
guides you.
The
The
love of
life of
God
God
Love
flows
flows
through
through
you.
allows you.
The
the
laws of
laws
The
of
God
laws
God
direct
of
you.
God
direct
direct you.
The
The
peace
peace
of
of
God
Peace of
God
God
abides
within
within
abides
you.
within you.
The
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 joy
joy
of
joy
of
of
joy
God
of
God
God.
God
uplifts
uplifts
you.
you.
That's you.
The
The
strength
Strength
The
of
of
strength
God
God
strength
renews
renews
God
you.
you.
God
renews you.
renews you.
The beauty of God
Beauty of God
Beauty of
inspires
inspires
God
you.
you.
inspires you.
Wherever you
Wherever
are,
you
Wherever
are,
you are,
God
God
is,
God
God
is,
is,
and all
and
and
is
all
well.
is
all
is
well.
well.
is well.
Amen.
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 Well, that answers Claudia's statement of saying that, those last 2 lines weren't in the poem.
Yeah, I know that. I see that. But I know what I heard when he said it. So, he stood up there on that stage and professed that. Maybe he forgot. He's human.
Well, thanks
Oh,
everybody.
what I was thinking of is we're all off key, is that we can all do mathematics and not diminish God. We can, and when John read that, I thought, oh, that's the same with music. We can all play a musical, score, and not diminish the musical score. And we can all read the prayer of protection and not say it in order, but it's still going to work.
Mhm.
Amen.
I'd say amen. So
Amen.
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 And
thanks everybody. Thanks,
and a
Christine.
Thank you,
woman,
guys.
because it's the
Thanks,
day of the
Marty.
year of the woman. So a woman.
Thanks, Christine, for joining us, and we'll see everybody next week.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye,
Take
all.
care.
Bye.
Bye.